Welcome back to Forced Retirement Outdoors. I decided I would launch a kayak out of Fort Island Trail down in Crystal River. You can hear the wind in the background. It was a breezy morning. It was supposed to level off. I found a little oyster bar off the side of an island and working a sand-out assassin shrimp, bouncing it off the bottom. And then this little guy decided he wanted a taste. So this flounder hit it right at the boat. He followed it all the way in. I've said it before, but don't stop working your lure until you get it all the way to the boat. Oftentimes they'll hit it right next to you. Alright, so I'm still in the same general area. It's a little bit later on. The sun's coming out. The wind's calming down. I decided I'm going to move. I grabbed my little homemade anchor. It's just a marker buoy. And I replaced the line with some 550 cord. Tied a little 1 pound grapple anchor to it. It works great, man. If you get hit by a big fish and you need to unhook and fight the fish, it'll float. You can come back and get it. So once I get unhooked, decide I'm going to grab my little sand-out assassin shrimp, start casting and drifting, see if I can pick something up. And it didn't take long. I got something pretty unique. Check it out. So you can tell by how hard he hit and how much line he was pulling, this is definitely something different. Ended up being a cobia, so it was definitely short, but certain times of the year, cobia will come in inshore. I'm only in about 2 foot of water, maybe. But it goes to show you just how versatile that sand-out assassin shrimp is. We'll add another species to the list. Pretty unique, pretty cool, tons of fun when you're shallow water, especially on light tackle. The ones that are big enough to keep are really good to eat. Just unfortunately, this guy was just a little too short. Well, obviously he wasn't ready to give up yet. Getting him in the net was a little bit of a job, but eventually I get him in there. The cobia are just known for being frisky fish. You really want to wear them out. Ended up getting him in the net. Took a minute to get him unhooked, but again, something cool, something different. Don't get a lot of these, but it was definitely a good time. Alright, so I moved spots, still pretty close to the same area. You can still see the power plant in the background. I can still see the beach out there at Crystal River. Still using a sand-out assassin shrimp, just kind of bouncing along the bottom. Doesn't take very long before I start feeling some bumps. I know something's kind of messing with it. Usually it's just little pinfish and whatnot, and then something just inhaled it. All right, so this ends up being a bluefish, just another species that ended up falling for the old sand gnat assassin shrimp. If you haven't done so already, go check out Sand Gnat Assassin Baits on Instagram and Facebook. He primarily uses the Instagram account, but he makes them custom. So send him a message, tell him what it is you're kind of looking for. He'll work with you, custom make some baits, or if you just want to get you a bag or two of the Sand Gnat Assassin Yankeetown Mud Shrimp, which really just crushes everything around here. I highly recommend it. Hit him up. He'll get you what you need. So the tide changed directions. Water started moving in a different area. I basically just hopped over the other side of that bar that I caught the bluefish on. You can still see the power plant in the background. I'm just a little bit closer inshore. Bouncing that Sand Gnat Assassin shrimp off the bottom. What do you know? This little red gobbled it down. I get him up to the boat. Same thing as usual. I'll grab the net, get him in, get control of the fish. I always have my fish grips, those plastic vice grips. I really just love them for the fact that once you get the fish clamped down in the mouth, it can flop all it wants. You're not going to lose it. You have control of it. I personally don't like the boga grips. The tips of the boga grips are kind of thin, and sometimes they'll rip through the mouth of the fish. The plastic fish grips right here, they're pretty wide and dull. I've never had them damage the fish at all. This guy obviously is a little short, so getting back in the water pretty quick. Get some water in his gills. He starts to thrash. I unhook him, and he's gone. Next, I gotta unhook the lure, the jig head out of that net. I decide to throw right back in there, and what do you know? I get another little red. Same spot, same lure, same, way of working it. Just ended up being a decent little spot. And, yeah, check it out. Alright, so now I'm changing things up a little bit. I've gone back to the topwater skitter walk in that pearl white. Just kind of walking the dog pretty quick across the top of the water. Trying to pick something up. It's been kind of a slow day as far as keepers go. Those reds were short. But doesn't take too long. I land me a decent keeper trout. So if you notice, this is another fish that hit it right next to the boat. I looked back, I seen it swirl, missed it, twitched it a couple more times, paused it, and then he crushed it right next to the boat. Right, so always work your lures, work them all the way in. You never know. oftentimes they're going to hit it right next to the boat. He ended up being a keeper fish, so once I get him unhooked, I slide him in the back into my catch bag and then move on to the next thing. So as I moved over to this next spot, somehow I lost my sunglasses, but lucky for me, I had an old cheap like Walmart special pair stuffed in one of the dry storage boxes of the boat. So I threw them on. If you go out fishing, especially out in the bright sun, if you don't have a good pair of sunglasses, it's just rough. I'm using a Yozuri suspending bait, just kind of reeling and twitching. Ended up picking up a couple decent trout off this one spot. Take a look. As the fish comes in, I get my net. I go to scoop him up. The front treble hook ends up hooking the outside of the net. I know I'm not going to get the fish in the net at this point, so I just kind of bring the whole mess inside the boat. Takes a little while to get him unhooked. Once I do, I realize he's definitely a keeper. I slide him into the catch bag. This ends up being the last fish of the day. So, thanks for coming out. Stay tuned for the next episode. Plenty more to come.